The trailer does more than show scenes, it stirs the heart. From the very first shot, viewers feel pulled into the room as if they too are sitting at the table. This is not just a story about history, it is a story about humanity, and that is why the audience reaction has been so strong. Fans everywhere are saying the same thing. This is the most emotional and powerful season yet. The impact begins with recognition. We all know the story of the Last Supper. We've seen paintings, heard sermons, maybe even watched films, but The Chosen gives it a new voice. It doesn't just show a painting come to life, it shows men and women with real emotions, with doubts, fears, and love. And the audience reacts because it feels real. It feels like something happening right now, not 2,000 years ago. For many fans, the theme of betrayal is what lingers. Judas is not painted as a villain with a single brushstroke. He is shown as a man struggling, torn apart by choices, and that makes his betrayal all the more heartbreaking. Viewers can't help but lean forward, whispering to themselves, "Don't do it." That is the power of storytelling, making us wish the story could change. Even when we already know the ending, others feel the weight of sacrifice. The bread and the wine, lifted in simple beauty, remind audiences why this moment matters. It is not only a symbol of faith, but also a symbol of love that endures even in the face of betrayal. Many viewers share that these moments bring tears, not because the story is sad, but because it is so full of meaning, and then there is anticipation. The trailer ends, but the feeling does not. Social media fills with questions, theories, and emotional reactions. Fans talk about which disciple moved them the most, which line pierced their heart, which shot gave them chills. The community of viewers becomes part of the experience, sharing their voices in unison, much like the disciples themselves gathered in unity. In the end, the true impact of this trailer is not just that it prepares us for Season 5, it prepares us to feel too, reflect, and to remember. It makes us realize that the Last Supper is not simply a moment in time, it is a mirror that shows us our own struggles with loyalty, faith, and love. That is why fans call this trailer unforgettable. It is more than a preview. It is a call to step closer to the story and see it as if for the very first time. The screen fades to black. But the silence is not empty, it echoes. The Last Supper is over, yet the feeling remains. What we have just seen in the trailer is not the end of a story, but the beginning of one that will shake heaven and earth. And that is what makes Season 5 of The Chosen so different. It dares to hold us in that silence, in that waiting, in that moment before the storm. The closing images remind us of a truth we cannot escape. Love sits at the same table as betrayal. Faith sits beside fear, and destiny waits in the shadows. Jesus does not turn away. He looks directly at those he calls his friends, even the one who will betray him, and he still breaks the bread, still lifts the cup, still chooses love. That is the power of this story, and that is the power of this trailer. As the final words are whispered and the light fades, the trailer leaves us with questions that reach beyond the screen. What would we do in that room? Would we stay or would we run? Would we deny or would we believe? These questions are why The Last Supper still speaks today, and why this season may be the most unforgettable yet. And now, the choice rests with the audience. Do we only watch, or do we step closer? Do we keep this story at a distance, or do we let it move us, challenge us, and change us? This is the invitation The Chosen offers, and it is one that cannot be ignored. So as we wait for Season 5, I leave you with this thought: The Last Supper was not an ending. It was the doorway to sacrifice, redemption, and resurrection. The trailer shows us that the table of 12 was not the finish line. It was the starting point of the greatest act of love the world has ever seen. If this trailer stirred something in your heart, then don't let the conversation end here. Share your thoughts below. Which moment struck you the most? Look. Which line, which silence stayed with you? Let your voice join the chorus of others who felt the same. And if you want to walk this journey step by step, make sure you like, subscribe, and stay with us. Because this season will be one we will never forget. The table is set. The story has begun, and history is about to change. The journey of this trailer ends, but the weight of its message does not fade. We have seen a table surrounded by friends, yet divided by destiny. We have watched eyes filled with love and others clouded with doubt. We have witnessed the calm of a Savior who knows the cost of his mission, and the unrest of disciples who do not yet understand what is about to unfold. The Last Supper was more than a meal. It was a stage where prophecy and humanity met face to face. Every glance, every silence, every broken piece of bread carried the weight of eternity and the chosen. Season 5 invites us not to simply watch, but to feel to sit at that table. As though we were there, breathing the same air, hearing the same words, carrying the same questions in our hearts. What makes this trailer unforgettable is not only its cinematic beauty, but its emotional truth. We are reminded that faith is not easy, that loyalty is tested in fire, that love must endure betrayal. Most of all, that sacrifice is the greatest act of strength. These are not ancient ideas locked in the past. They are themes that still move us today. As the final image fades, the silence speaks louder than words. It tells us that the story is not finished. The table leads to the cross, and the cross leads to hope that still lives. The Last Supper was not an ending. It was the beginning of everything. So now the question is not just what happens next in The Chosen. The real question is, what happens next in us? How will this story move us? How will we carry it? That is the power of this trailer. And that is why the world waits for Season 5 with hearts wide open. If this story has touched you, do not keep it to yourself. Share your thoughts, your feelings, your hope. Add your voice to the countless others who are walking this journey together. If you want to stay close as the story unfolds, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Because this season will not only be watched, it will be remembered. The table is ready. The story continues. The table is set, the candles flicker, and the air feels heavy with silence. This is not just another meal. This is the Last Supper, a moment that will mark the beginning of the trailer for The Chosen. Season 5 opens with a scene that is quiet, almost too quiet. We see Jesus and his disciples gathered together in a dimly lit room. The shadows move across the walls, and the soft glow of oil lamps makes the setting feel intimate, yet full of tension. It is clear right from the first frame that this is not just a meal. This is a moment that carries the weight of prophecy, sacrifice, and destiny. As the trailer cuts through different shots, we see the disciples arranging themselves around the table. Their faces show a mix of emotions. Some look at Jesus with deep love and respect, while others glance at each other with confusion, even fear. The room is filled with anticipation, as if everyone knows something life-changing is about to happen. But they don't yet understand what it will cost. The camera lingers on the bread and the wine. Simple elements, but in this story, they become symbols that will last forever. When Jesus breaks the bread and lifts the cup, the silence of the room feels almost sacred. The way the trailer frames this act shows us that we are witnessing something bigger than a simple tradition. This is the moment where Jesus begins to reveal the meaning of his coming sacrifice. In one powerful shot, the trailer focuses on the face of Judas. His eyes shift nervously, and his hand twitches as if weighed down by guilt. No words are needed to tell the audience what's happening inside him. We know he is torn, caught between loyalty and betrayal. This moment builds suspense, because even though we know the story, we can feel the drama as if it's happening for the first time. The music in the trailer slowly builds, starting soft and calm, then adding layers of tension. Each beat feels like a heartbeat, each pause filled with unspoken words. It pulls the audience in and makes them lean closer, waiting for what will be revealed. By the end of the first sequence, it is clear. This is not just a trailer. It is an invitation to step into one of the most important and emotional moments in history, where friendship, faith, betrayal all sit together at the same table. The greatest story ever told. Every story lives through its characters. And in this trailer, each face tells a story without words. At the center of the table sits Jesus. His expression is calm, but it is not the calm of peace. It is the calm of someone who already knows what is about to happen. His eyes move across his friends, one by one, and in that moment, it feels as if he sees not only who they are, but also who they will become. The trailer captures this perfectly, showing a leader who carries the weight of the world, yet still offers love with every glance. Around him, the disciples shift in their seats. Peter leans forward, his eyes full of both devotion and stubbornness. We know his loyalty burns strong, but we also sense the storm of fear that will soon test him. John, on the other hand, rests closer to Jesus, almost like a younger brother clinging to the one he trusts most. The trailer's close-up of John highlights his innocence, his deep love, and his quiet courage. Then there is Judas. The camera doesn't need to shout to show his inner battle. His eyes flicker, his hands tighten, and his silence speaks louder than any dialogue. For a moment, he looks at Jesus with guilt, as if asking for forgiveness without words. Yet in another shot, he looks away, swallowed by shadows. The audience instantly feels the tension. This is the man who will betray his friend, and we are watching the cracks form in real time. The other disciples also add to the atmosphere. Some share quick looks with each other, uncertain of what Jesus truly means when he speaks of betrayal. Others bow their heads, lost in prayer, trying to hold on to faith, even as fear creeps in. The trailer shows them not as perfect men, but as human beings flawed, emotional, and struggling to understand the mission they have been called to follow. What makes this section powerful is not only the words spoken, but the silence between them. Each pause in the trailer lingers on a face, giving us a glimpse of loyalty, doubt, or fear. It reminds the audience that the Last Supper was not just about bread and wine, it was about human hearts colliding with divine destiny. And in those quiet, fragile moments, the trailer lets us feel the weight of choices that will shape history. The strength of this trailer lies in its themes. Every frame whispers of unity, but also of conflict. We see the disciples breaking bread together, their hands reaching across the table, a sign of family and fellowship. For a moment, it feels like nothing can break them apart. But then, the shadow of betrayal slips into the scene, and the tone shifts. The music grows heavy, the lighting grows darker, and suddenly, the table of unity becomes a stage for destiny. One of the strongest themes is prophecy. Jesus' voice echoes, "One of you will betray me." These words do not simply hang in the air, they cut through the hearts of every disciple, and even through the audience. The trailer makes us pause, reminding us that this was never a surprise. The betrayal, the suffering, the sacrifice, it was all foretold. Yet watching it unfold in front of us feels raw, painful, and deeply human. Another theme that rises is sacrifice. The bread and the wine are not just symbols in this trailer, they are promises. When Jesus lifts them, the trailer frames him in a glow, almost as if heaven itself is watching. His words, though simple, carry a weight that shakes the room. The audience is reminded that this meal is not about feeding the body. It is about preparing for a sacrifice that will change the world. Conflict is also present. Not in shouts or arguments, but in silent looks and nervous hands. The disciples are torn between faith and fear. Judas is torn between guilt and greed. Even Peter, whose heart burns for loyalty, is torn between courage and doubt. This theme of inner conflict makes the trailer powerful because it reflects something. We all understand how difficult it is to stay strong when the world feels like it's falling apart. And then comes the theme of love. Despite the betrayal, despite the coming cross, Jesus shares this meal in love. The trailer captures his calm, his mercy, and his strength. He is surrounded by men who will deny him, doubt him, and even betray him. Yet he chooses to serve them, to wash their feet, and to call them his friends. It is love that holds the story together, love that makes the Last Supper unforgettable. By the end of this section of the trailer, the audience is left with more than just images. They are left with questions. How far would you go for loyalty? What would you do when prophecy collides with choice? How do you face betrayal with love? These are the themes that The Chosen, Season 5, dares to bring alive, and they are what make this story timeless. The final stretch of the trailer is where everything collides: light, music, and emotion woven together like a final note before silence. What makes this part unforgettable is not only what we see, but what we feel. The shots are slower, tighter, and every frame holds the weight of history. The camera pulls in close on the disciples. Their eyes flicker in candlelight there. Breaths heavy with fear and wonder. The tension is not spoken, it is felt. When the music rises, it feels less like background score and more like the heartbeat of the story. The rhythm matches the urgency, each beat carrying us closer to the cross. Then comes the contrast. On one side, we see gentle moments, hands breaking, bread, heads bowed in prayer, Jesus lifting the cup with steady calm. On the other side, shadows creep in. Judas slipping into the background, his face half hidden, as if even the light has turned away from him. The trailer uses this duality, light and dark, love and betrayal, to remind us that this night is both beautiful and tragic. One shot stands out. Jesus, looking up, his face half lit, half shadowed. It's a portrait of a man ready to walk into, suffering yet filled with peace. That single image captures the essence of the Last Supper. It is not defeat, it is destiny, not despair, but purpose. The emotional impact is sharpened by silence. The music cuts away at moments, leaving only the sound of breath, of hands brushing across the table, of chairs creaking in the tension. This silence becomes a character itself, louder than words, heavier than music. By the end, the trailer does not give us closure. Instead, it leaves us with a chill, a sense that something world-shaking is about to begin. The disciples look at one another, their questions hanging in the air. Judas lowers his eyes, and Jesus whispers words that echo in eternity. The screen fades, but the feeling lingers. What makes this trailer powerful is not just that it tells a story, it pulls us inside it. Do not watch The Last Supper from a distance. We sit at the table, feel the love, the fear, the betrayal. We see the cost of sacrifice and the unshakable power of mercy. And when the trailer ends, we are left not with answers, but with hearts full of anticipation for what comes next.